Hello and welcome to Jacob's Prog World. So, today is the day that I review the first album of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, which is simply called Emerson, Lake and Palmer, released in 1970. So, what I will do now, I start with the objective review, then tell you the objective ranking, move on to the subjective review, and then finally the subjective ranking. So let's dive into it. This is their first classic album, which features most of the elements of their style, what defined ELP, what they wanted to do, what they could do, and what they would do for the next couple of years. So ELP is a combination of its strong individuals to a unity that works well. So Keith Emerson, he's the guy that on the one hand he brings the blues and the jazz and the improvisation, because that's what he started with. On the other side he brings the classical music, and it really was his plan to combine those, because he liked classical music but he didn't want to play it note by note because that was boring to him, so he wanted to expand it by creativity with improvisation, and therefore he also used blues and jazz structures. So that's the first aspect that defines ELP and that you also see here. Then Greg Lake, the singer-songwriter guy. So before that album, of course, he played with King Crimson, and there he showed that he was the singer-songwriter, but he also was willing to expand his music by complex structures and other music genres. And that's the reason why Lake and Emerson could work together well, at least in the first time of ELP. And Carl Palmer, he was the jazz guy, but he also was into rock. So that also is a base for ELP, as Keith Emerson is the keyboard player, Greg Lake the bass player, the guitarist and the singer, and Carl Palmer the drummer. So the album starts with The Barbarian, and that's an adaptation of the classical piece Allegro Barbaro from Bela Bartok. And the band is very close to the original piece, but they add their own ingredients. So first of all, it starts with a big fuzz bass riff by Greg Lake, and this riff, it really takes the listener in, and it's so unusual for the time, and for 1970 it almost sounds like metal. Then Keith Emerson starts with the Hammond organ, and he plays a very attacking riff, and he shows how to play rock music on keyboards. And The Barbarian includes the typical three-piece structure of ELP. So it starts with that massive, aggressive Hammond organ part, then in the middle it switches to a calmer, more jazzy piano part with improvisation here and there, and in the end there's again this heavy organ part. And that works very well, and it's very authentic how ELP deliver this piece with its original aspect, but it's also very strong how they do their own thing of it. And it's classic, typical ELP at its best. Then it moves on with Take a Pebble, a Greg Lake composition, the singer-songwriter, and that's such a piece. It's a ballad, and it's an acoustic number. But the special thing about that is, and that wouldn't happen in the future for ELP, that Keith Emerson arranged it. So what he does on the piano is very interesting. So first of all, he plays the strings of the grand piano, and that's an interesting effect. And again, like in the Barbarian, it really puts you into the song and gets you focused. Then he plays other piano illustrations, and he also uses tremolos, and it's a very good support of Greg Lake's strong vocals, which are very good. Then in the middle part, that's also interesting, there are composed and improvised jazz sections based on the piano, and then it moves to a folky guitar part where Greg Lakes plays on the acoustic guitar until, again, 3-piece structure, it switches to the ballad part. So we've got the ballad part, the middle part with the piano and guitar improvisations, and the ballad part again. And the ballad part is very strong and the piano jazz part is very strong, but the problem is that the middle part doesn't really fit into the ballad. So it flows, but the problem is that the content of the music in the middle part, really moves away from the original ballad part, and that's the weakness of the song. Then, Knife Edge. Oh my goodness. So that's again an adaptation, and it's from the first movement of Leos Janáček's orchestral piece Sinfonietta. But what ELP do, they just take the bass riff and the trumpet melody, which is transferred to Greg Lake's vocal melody, and then they add many self-composed music. And so, first of all, again, Greg Lake's vocals are great. He sings about some fantastic themes, and it's a bit about danger and destruction, which is an important topic in the ELP catalog for lyrics. And otherwise, again, the hero of this piece, Keith Emerson, how he holds everything together, how he's soloing on his key instruments. He's a really virtuoso, and you hear this in this song. And then in the middle he also adds a quote of Johann Sebastian Bach's French Suite No. 1 in D minor on the clavinet, and how he puts all this together and how he plays it, it's really fantastic. And Carl Palmer, basically on the whole album, he really holds it all together. He's a good bass, his style is a really real fusion of jazz and rock, and he's really important for the substance of the music. Otherwise, Knife Edge, yeah, Keith Emerson. But it moves on with Keith Emerson's real showcase. So the second half is a showcase for all three band members. So the Three Fates is an Emerson composition. Tank is a Emerson Palmer composition, but it's more of a Carl Palmer piece and Carl Palmer showcase. And Lucky Man is the Greg Lake piece. So the Three Fates, that's about those three sisters of Greek mythology, which are called the Three Fates, and their names are Cloto, Lachesis and Atropos, and so are named the parts of the piece. So it's a clear 3-part suite. And again, typical for ELP, the long track. The suite consisting of extensively named parts. And so it starts with Cloto, that's on a pipe organ, and that sounds really massive. And what Keith Emerson does is a kind of call and response between thems and counterpoints. Then Lachesis is a sharp contrast, but it flows well into each other and it fits musically, different to Take a Pebble. And Lachesis features jazzy piano play, arpeggios, and it's very light and it flows very well. And the final part, Atropos, that's a piano trio, so Keith Emerson recorded 3 separate piano parts, and it's supported by multiple percussion instruments. And that's very complex, and especially in the rhythm. And it's really well done, and it's a high achievement, this complex composition and play. And the 3 Fates, very impressive piece, strong single parts, but great unity, and it really takes you on a journey. And you can see that journey from sister to sister, from key instrument to key instrument, or in other aspects, but it really flows well. Tank. So that begins with a great showcase for Greg Lake, actually, because Greg Lake, he isn't the best bass player. Like, compared to other progressive rock bass players, he often just copies the left hand of Keith Emerson, while other progressive rock bassists also do very virtuoso work. Yeah, Greg Lake is more, his real talent is more in the lyrics and in the vocals. But on Tank, his bass line is really good. So it's very funky and it really stands in a contrast to Emerson and Palmer's play, and it really fits, and it's complex and it's well done. Then, great effect, the polymetric interplay between Keith Emerson's clavinet, which is played in 6/8 time, and Carl Palmer's Bossa Nova drum groove, which is in 4/4 time. Then it moves on to Carl Palmer's drum solo, and I'm a drummer myself, so I can say it's a good timing, it's a good technique, but he could have done more variation. So it's very monotone what he plays, actually. And I mean, Carl Palmer, one of the greatest prog and rock drummers from the 70s. He could do more than that. Otherwise, it's a good solo. And in the end, the first Moog synthesizer solo in the Emerson, Lake and Palmer catalog. And back in the day, they used the Moog more for effects, and it wasn't a serious work. And so if you compare the Moog work to Gentle Giant, for example, they had a professional programmer and the sounds were very precise. And for ELP, yeah, the sounds are still squeaky and it isn't the best, but what Keith Emerson plays musically is fine. Again, also he can do more, but it's fine. So Tank, good, solid, very good piece, and still the highlight, Greg Lake's bass line and the interplay between the clavinet and the drums. So, up to here, great album. And then comes Lucky Man. So, Greg Lake wrote this when he was 12. And you can write great songs when you are 12, and Lucky Man is very catchy. But it's so simple. In the verses it's a change between G and D major all the time. And then in the refrain there's a sequence from A minor to G major to D major. And that's it. So, yeah, pop songs. You can have a pop song on a prog album. But Lucky Man really is beyond what ELP was able to do. And the lyrics are also very naive and basic and don't make too much sense. And what improved the song is the drumming by PALMER, which is very good as always, and the small guitar solo by Greg Lake. So few improvements in the arrangement. Then the synthesizer solo by Keith Emerson in the end, again on the Moog synthesizer. So there's this famous story that Keith Emerson just tried something out and then they didn't have enough tape, and Greg Lake and the engineer said, "Oh, it's great, we take it," and then they took it. And of course Keith Emerson was new to the Moog, he just tried something out, played something in portamento, and it really doesn't fit into the song. And it's a contrast to the acoustic part, but it just doesn't make sense. So it's a pop song about a lucky man, and then it's something that sounds like the invasion of robots. So the second thing, it's really beyond Keith Emerson's abilities as a keyboard player, because he was just trying something out but not seriously playing a solo. And so Lucky Man is a rather weak piece. Otherwise, defining album for ELP includes classical adaptations, ballads by Greg Lake with Keith Emerson addings on one, great play by everyone, the first suit, and really tasty solos, very well thought structures, virtuoso work, and the album also flows very well, so there's a contrast between more loud, aggressive, energetic songs and more calm songs, especially from the loud The Barbarian to the calm Take a Pebble to the energetic Knife Edge. And they really managed to put all their strengths together to unity, but still fulfill themselves. And in my ranking, it's automatically on number 1 and it gets an A-. Now my subjective thoughts. It took me quite a long time to get into it, but now I love the album. I love every single track of it. The Barbarian, so aggressive, so tasty, so rocking. Take a Pebble, what a lovely ballad, and I don't care about all the weaknesses. I don't care that it's not holding together so well. I don't care about the weaknesses in Tank. I love Three Fates, Tank. My favorite song is Knife Edge, so cool. And I also like Lucky Man. and I really love the synthesizer solo, and that's the reason why I always divide between objective and subjective, because I know it's bad. I just love how it completely destroys the song and how it goes on, and just a fun experience to me personally. So, in my rankings it's automatically number 1 with an A. And that's it. So if you want to continue the journey and never miss any of my future ELP videos and other videos, please subscribe, click on the bell, and we see us in the next video. And to all my 23 subscribers, big thank you. It's really motivating. Just recorded a few videos and I've got 23 subscribers, and I know that some of you have followed me for a very long time, and big thank you. I love that you are there. And that's it. Bye.